Good afternoon, D&D TikTok and barbecue TikTok and beyond, and welcome to Roll for Barbecue. Let's get it done. As always, this series is inspired by the popular Roll for Sandwich series by AdventuresinAardia. And today, we're using our pride dice for episode 60. Let's kick off this barbecue and roll for meat. 1, beef. Alright, let's see what type of beef we're preparing today from our beef list. 3, beef brisket. It's always a good day when you're making a brisket. We have an 18-pound choice cut brisket, and now you need a sharp knife to trim off some of that surface fat. And of course, don't cut too deep like I just did. This knife is wicked sharp. If you want the caveman style fillet knife, you can check the link in my bio to get your knife today. The big thing with trimming a brisket, you need to take your time. Don't rush the process, and now it's time to roll for binder. 6, mustard. This is pretty common for a good barbecue, so we're going to be using some Branch Fieldhouse mustard. You don't need a lot, just get enough to cover that meat. Once you get that brisket covered in the Fieldhouse mustard, it's time to roll for rubs. 6, meat church, and 9, ranch seasoning. Wait a minute. 6 and 9.
69?
Yeah, that's it.
Alright, now I'm satisfied. Now it's time to roll for meat church. 5, we got the Holy Gospel rub. This is a pretty solid pick for brisket. This is a mixture of the Holy Cow seasoning and the Gospel rub. You can definitely tell it's used in this house. We're empty, so we gotta have that on standby. Make sure both sides of that brisket are completely covered with that meat church rub. And then we're doing the unspeakable, throwing some ranch seasoning on a brisket. However, we're gonna be using Flavor God's ranch seasoning, which is a pretty good seasoning. I just don't know how that's gonna fare on top of a brisket. We're gonna let that rest for 30 minutes, and we're rolling for 2 woods today. 2 apple and 3 mesquite wood. And because this is a big brisket, we're going to be smoking on the Char Griller Grand Champ XD. We're also rendering down that beef fat to make some tallow. We're smoking about 250 degrees Fahrenheit until this hits an internal temperature of 175 degrees. And now it's time for Wild Magic. 14, a meat skeet of whiskey. You can use the whiskey that you like. We got the Meat Skeeter 9000. We're going to hit it with some Jack Daniels. Give it a test spray, and we're going to spray this every hour after 4 hours until we hit 175 internal. And now we're going to wrap this thing. It's been about 9 hours, and so we're going to wrap it nice and tight, throw the meat probe back in, and back onto the smoker. After 18 total hours of cooking, this brisket is done. We also let this rest in the cooler for about 2 hours. And now let's see how juicy this bad boy is. Nice. We're going to turn that point 90 degrees and give it some nice slices. Honestly, it's looking good so far, but I'm worried about the D20 sauce roll. So, let's click those tongs. Let's get it. 19, Ardia's last sauce roll. Let's tune in.
All right, and not least or last, here's the D20 sauce roll. Nat 20, dealer's choice. All right, well, I think we're so close to a fully dessert sandwich, I'm going to have to go with Nutella.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Well, that's disappointing. Nutella to me is like ketchup to AdventuresinAardia, especially when I perform this blasphemous act right here. Well, it looked great, and of course, it's going to be no surprise. How is this going to taste? Here we go. Just as expected. Really, really bad. That Nutella literally covers every aspect of flavor that comes from this brisket. Over 18 hours of work, and this is how it tastes. Of course, I got to get a second opinion just to make sure it still tastes bad. And just as expected, it still tastes bad. And I know what the questions are going to be in the comments. So why are you still eating it? Because you never waste brisket. That's just disrespectful. So we're going to try this brisket on its own. And right there, that's the flavor that I want. Honestly, you couldn't really taste the ranch seasoning whatsoever. If anything, the ranch seasoning added a very, very faint taste of dill. It was definitely a unique experience. On its own, I would give this brisket an 8.2 out of 10. But that's not how we do it. So we're going to give this a 3.9 out of 10 with the Nutella. And we're going to call this Nutella Still Sucks with Barbecue. And just like that, that's episode 60. Be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you guys at the next barbecue.